the 10 most common brokerage mistakes and how to avoid them. How many of you guys would like to work smarter, not harder? Maybe not drive down some dark alleys, so to speak, not hit those potholes, step on those landmines. You guys with me? Okay. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay. So let's do it. All right. So the first question is, guys, and I love talking about this, and I talk about this quite a bit with folks. Okay. I want you to envision, we just started talking about 2024. Okay. And here's a fact, guys. I've heard it many times. I just heard it again like this morning. Okay. If you do not have written goals, it's very hard to achieve them. Okay. If you haven't written them down. So I want everybody in the chat to write down your goals. What do you want to make over the next 12 months? Let's talk about, in 2024, because it's basically like 40 days away. Okay. So go ahead and type in the chat. No number is too big, but realistically, okay, you're making 100,000 now to say you want to make 10 million next year. It'd be a little bit of a stretch, but what do you realistically, where would you like to be? What for you to hit that number, what would be a good number to hit this time next year? Okay. Because it's very, very important to understand, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Okay. Here we go. We got a 275. We got a 180. We got a 200. We got a 300. We got a 275. Love it. Love it, guys. Okay. So here's something I want you guys to understand and take a look at. All right. So if you've got your gap and you know where you want to go and you know where you've been, okay, it only helps to help you get you where you're going if you know where you've been. So take that number that you just put in the chat where your goal is and subtract out what you made over the last 12 months, folks. And we're going to do a little of what we call gap math. Okay. Very, very important. Okay. So let's do a little bit of gap math. Let's see what that is. Okay. Loretta said her gap is 400. Love it. Okay. Who else's gap figured out their gap? So if you made, let's say you want to make 300 next year and you made 100 this year, your gap would be 300 minus 100 equals 200. Okay. Sid's gap is 200. Katya's gap is 200. Evelyn's gap is 200. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of, yeah, good. Gap is 100,000. Love it. Okay, cool. You guys are in the right place. Now here's something that when I learned gap math, it blew my mind, right? That number is the difference between where you are and where you're looking to go. Okay. And there's only two things keeping you, actually three, but let me rule one out first. Folks, if you knew how to make $1 million a year, would every one of you be making $1 million a year? Type 1M in the chat if that's you. Okay. Let's take a look and see what that is. All right. Let's see. 1M. Okay. Sergio's with me. Susan's with me. Who else? Katya's with me. Okay. Roman's with me. Loretta. Okay, cool. So I'm talking to the right group. So it's not a question of your motivation, because there's only three things that hold you back from your gap. And we just ruled out it's not motivation, because if I was able to show you how to make the money that you want to make, you'd already be making it. That means that there's no lack of motivation. Make sense, guys? Okay. So that there's only two things keeping you from where you are and where you want to go. Okay. That number in the middle, folks, that's your gap. Where you are is what you know how to make, what you made over the last 12 months. And where you want to go is a stretch. There's only two things keeping you from there. And number one is your knowledge, and number two is your skills, which means it isn't until you close the gap between your knowledge and your skills that you close that number. Does that make sense, guys? Type yes or yes. All right. Very, very important. Susan's like, yes. Katya's with me. Yes. Sergio. Okay, cool. So folks, we are here to help you close that gap. You with me? And I'm going to show you 10 mistakes to avoid so you can close that gap quicker. Does that sound good? Type a 1 in the chat if you guys are with me. Okay, cool. All right, let's do this. Do's and don'ts of commercial brokerage. Sometimes, guys, it is equally important to understand not only what to do, but what not to do. Now, think of it this way, folks. There's an old saying that when you're marching, you're not fighting, which means if you're doing one thing, you're not doing the other. So how could you possibly like if you think about it, if you're doing too much of the wrong thing, it's keeping you away from doing the right thing. So there's this really cool, like double leverage effect that happens when you stop doing the wrong things and start spending that time you used to do on the wrong things and spending them on the right things. Do you guys see? Type yes in the chat if you guys see if that makes sense. Okay. So we're going to show you things to avoid so that you can spend more the time doing the right things. Okay. Here we go. All right. So number one, guys, this is a big one. I can't tell you how many. And then we're going to do a survey in just a second. But so many people get this wrong right out of the gate. You shoot yourself in the foot. How many people have ever here? And guys, this is a safe space where no one's judging anyone. Okay. But I've done this myself. So like I made this mistake. How many of you ever research dial? Type a one in the chat if that's ever been you guys. All right. The point is, if you research dial, guys, it is an endless process. You get nowhere, you build no momentum, and you wind up more frustrated than anything. Okay. So I see Tom's with me, Susan's with me, Katya's with me. Okay. That's what we're talking about, folks. Okay. We are no longer going to research dial. We need to do what's called batch work, right? The reason why Henry Ford was so successful, he created the assembly line. What does that mean? Each person does one specific job, and everyone else, and the reason why it works so well is you get good at doing that one job, you figure out the efficiencies, okay, and you're not switching gears, pun intended, constantly back and forth, research, dial, as opposed to research, and then dial. Guys, can you see how you can get into a rhythm, how you can get a little bit better, maybe even get a little bit of positive reinforcement when you're doing one thing over and over again? Type yes in the chat if you're with me, if that makes sense to you guys, okay? That's the number one thing. The reason why people hate getting on the phone and reaching out to people, not because it's so hard, but it's just there's no momentum there. And we're human beings and we need a little momentum. All right, guys? So next up is not learning your contracts and paperwork cold. You'd be surprised how few people understand the very paperwork and contracts that they're sending for their buyers and sellers to sign. Very, very important, folks. You need to understand these things. Does that make sense? You are literally sending a legally binding document that could be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to somebody. And if you don't understand that, how are you supposed to be able to guide them? Now, mind you, okay, we are not supposed to give legal advice. Okay, we can't talk about what the implications of legal advice of the contract are, but at the same time, you do need to be able to understand the general clauses of a contract. Okay, folks? Very, very important. Very few people can fully articulate what the purpose of the contracts and the different paperworks are. Okay? Next up, all right, and now I'm going to do a little survey on this one. How many of you have ever put someone in your car, sent a report to, put together a showing or this or that, and then the people just poof, like just evaporated into like, you know, the sky, right? They ghosted you. They stop answering your texts, stop answering your calls, stop answering your emails. That ever happened? Type one in the chat. That's ever happened. And if it hasn't happened to you, you haven't been in brokerage long enough. Who is it that just typed Sid's with me? Exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So, and Susan says, yes. And why do I keep repeating it? Well, I'll tell you why, Susan. Okay. It's because we haven't got you dialed in on your qualification. Once you understand how to qualify somebody, okay, right? If you keep doing the same thing, you always do what you always did. You always get what you always got. So it isn't until you understand why. Okay. Think of it this way, guys. And I'm very big on like visualization and picturing things in my mind. A lot of brokers think that they are carnival barkers. Here's what I mean. Come one, come all. See, yeah, come inside and see the world's biggest attraction, the bearded lady, whatever. You know, you think like a carnival barker, like from the 1940s. Okay. That is not how brokerage works. What we need to be is think of like a big, like 250-pound dude with a shaved head and a goatee and like a earpiece in his ear. And he's out in front of the club with the velvet rope. Okay. And this guy is deciding who gets let into the club. Okay. That club, metaphorically, guys, is your business schedule. Okay. Why? As brokers, we only have two things to sell. Can anybody tell me what the two things that we get to sell as brokers is? Brokers and agents. What are the two things that we sell? My students should know this. Katya, Susan. Yep. Okay. Yep. It's our, well, hopefully we're not selling ourselves. We're selling our time and we're selling our knowledge, right? We have very, very specific knowledge. Very, very important. Okay. Think about it. When you make a bunch of calls, you get information. You're talking to building owners, you're talking to buyers, you're talking to landlords, you're talking to tenants, and you're putting people together. That knowledge that you attain is very, very valuable. Okay. So number one, we're selling our time. Number two, we're selling our knowledge. So if someone takes time away from us, are they taking money out of our pocket? Yeah, type yes or no. Take a guess, guys. Are they taking money out of our pocket? You better believe it, right? Okay. Let's talk about how much. Let's quantify that. This is going to be a mind opener for you. Guys, whatever you typed in as your goal for next year, okay, do me a favor and take that number and divide it by 2,000. Okay. So for instance, all right, if you got on, okay, for instance, I'm going to do a little bit of quick math for one of you guys. Let me scroll up a little bit. All right. For instance, Sergio has said his goal was 200K. Okay, 200K divided by 2,000 equals 100. So guys, type that number in the chat for whatever it is for you. Okay, whatever your financial goal is for next year, divided by 2,000. Here we go. Okay, and what that is, Katya's ahead of the game. Love it. And what that is, guys, that's your hourly rate. Most people don't have any idea what their hourly rate is. So I'll do an example. Okay, Linda, perfect. $150. Love that. Half of 150 is 75. Half of 75 is $37.50. Let's round it up to 40 bucks, right? I'm sure, Linda, you would never take two crisp $20 bills and tear them up, right? For sure. No sane person. We work way too hard for our money. But would we even think twice about wasting 15 minutes on a phone call, with somebody who we have no reason to, right? Would we spend 15 minutes doing a LoopNet search with someone that we haven't maybe qualified as well as we should have? You with me, guys? So the point is, it's very important to understand your hourly rate. Once you understand your hourly rate, then you can understand what your time is worth. Then you can judge whether something is worth your time. Does this make sense, guys? Type a big capital Y, capital E, capital S in the chat, because that's what we're talking about. Once you understand what your time is worth, you will never not qualify a buyer or a tenant again. Okay, Susan's with me, Loretta's with me. Okay, because think about it. You'd never rip up a $100 bill. You wouldn't even rip up a $2 bill, right? You wouldn't even do that. But you think nothing of giving away your time. Hopefully, guys, you see this from a new perspective. Okay, very important. Not knowing what your time is worth, right? That's very, very important, guys. That it lends itself to that. If you're not qualifying people properly, you're wasting your time. And if you don't know what your time is worth, you'll never know that. Now, after we've done that exercise today, guys, you can never go, ignorance is bliss, they say, right? You can never go out and put someone in your car without qualifying them properly. Now, if you say, I don't know how to qualify them properly, that's a completely different thing. But you'll never do it unknowingly, because now you know what your time is worth. In fact, guys, take whatever your hourly rate is and divide that by 4, okay? I want to show you what 15 minutes of your time is worth. Better yet, take that number and divide it by 60. I want to show you what every minute of your day is worth. Let's do that right now, real quick, okay? So, if it's whatever it is, if it's a $200 an hour, let's say you want to make $400,000. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Loretta, that's an eye opener, huh? Every minute of your day is worth more than a cup of Starbucks. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Katya's almost $2 a minute. Guys, that's it adds up, right? If you're just like, oh, it's just 5 minutes. Oh, it's just 10 minutes. No, because for Sergio, 10 minutes of his time is worth $16. You guys with me? This is a lot of money. It adds up. Okay. So very, very important. Another thing we need to do, guys, shifting gears to the number 6 out of 10 is not creating call lists and to-do lists the night before. Guys, I keep my to-do list right here by my side. Why? Because when you get to the office, you need to know what you're going to be working on. So here's the cool thing about your brain, right? Your brain will work. Your brain's the biggest, best supercomputer on earth, right? It is absolutely limitless what our brains can do for us. But unless you know how to use it properly, you won't be able to get some of the fringe benefits. Now, they say the average person doesn't use all the capacity of their brain. I totally agree, right? But one thing we can do, one little tiny hack that we can do is make our lists the night before. The reason being, okay, is that when you go to bed that night, your brain starts working. Your brain's a problem-solving machine. It loves to solve problems. That's why if you ever like taken a test and like you got 100 answers right and there's one that you couldn't understand, that's the only one you remember. Why? Because your brain gets stuck in problem-solving mode. Your brain loves to solve problems. So what you want to do is write down your list the night before. Give a thought to your day, okay? That way, when you get to the office in the morning, you will have new insights potentially. You'll have maybe new solutions that you might not have thought about. Why? Because at night, your subconscious goes through and it kind of likes to clear information out and connect dots for you. That part of your brain is called the reticular activation center of your brain. Let me give you a real world example. The first time I ever noticed this, I went to go buy a Honda Accord. And I went to the dealership. I was super excited. I drove one. Oh my God, it was super cool. I was like picking out the interior, yada, yada, yada. And then when I was driving home, every third car on the road seemed to be a Honda Accord. Has that ever happened to anybody? Type 1 in the chat, guys, if that's ever happened to you, where like you start thinking about something and then next thing you know, it's everywhere. Like you decide to go like with your wife to the movies. Oh, let's go look at the new, whatever, Tom Cruise movie. And then next thing you know, all you see is commercials for it here and there and everywhere. You see billboards, or you decide to go, I don't know, like buy a new home. And next thing you know, all you see is real estate signs and homes for sale. Okay, guys, that's your RAC working. That's also the same thing that helps figure out and connect dots for you in your sleep. So utilize that to create call lists the night before. Utilize that to create your to-do list the night before. Why? You will be that much further ahead. Your brain, you'll be hacking your supercomputer to get a little bit of help in the morning. Who here wants more help? Type a 2 in the chat if you want a little bit more help. Make sense, guys? Okay. So let's go on to the next one. Signing NDAs and CAs without reading the fine print. Guys, I know this is going to be a bit of a surprise, okay? But sometimes the world of brokerage can be filled with sharks, okay? There are some brokerages that want you to sign away basically your rights to your client, right? And they want you to give your client's information to them before they even give out a marketing package and give the financials for a building. Guys, it's ridiculous. It's shameful. It's super unethical, but I've seen it a lot. I have literally had to sign, a client's name, email, and phone number so that they can put it in their database and they can start marketing to my client. Guys, I've seen it, okay? So my point is be very, very careful of what you're signing. So, and make sure you understand what you're signing, because you are obligating yourself. And heaven forbid something comes up, you could find yourself ensnared in like a legal battle because you didn't read the fine print. Okay, nobody wants a legal battle. No fun. Okay, guys. So next up, trying to buy the business. If I hear it one more time, I'm going to vomit. Anyone that says, "Oh, you know what? I don't need coaching. I just need leads." If you tell me that, you don't have the slightest idea. It's like saying, I'm going to beat the most famous race car driver ever. I just need the keys to the Formula One car. You haven't the slightest idea. You cannot buy the business on the commercial side. Residential side, there's lots of sources, lots of people filling out ads online and that are looking to buy homes. Sure. The average adult, buys and sells a house every 7 years. Sure. There's a limitless stream of people because everybody needs a roof over their heads. But on the commercial side of the business, you cannot buy the business. You got to get up and go out and get there. Okay, go out and get it. Okay, it just does not. You cannot buy leads. You cannot buy leads. Write this down, guys. You cannot buy leads. And if you say that the only thing you need is leads, you have no idea what you're talking about. You need a process. You need a system. Okay. If you've ever said, I just need leads, I promise you there are levels to this thing. It's like saying a surgeon saying, if just show me which is the sharp end of the scalpel and I'm going to go do brain surgery. I promise you there's so many more levels to this. Make sense, guys? Type a 1 in the chat. I don't like to come off as negative, but I also want to be realistic. Okay. A lot of people will come in, they're just like, oh yeah, I just need this one little thing. And it's like, there's 100 levels deeper. And most people don't know what they don't know. Okay, cool. Susan says, I love this. Awesome. And Susan has been around this business a while. So I'm glad you're getting value out of it, Susan. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Next up, guys, not learning to let the prospect speak and really listen. Okay. If you were to do a personality test of most real estate agents, most of them are like a high D or a high I. What does that mean? A lot of them are like drivers. Okay, they like to, because if you're self-employed, you like to, you want to be in control of your own destiny. In fact, type of 1 in the chat if you like the idea of being in control of your own destiny. Okay, and the other one is a high I means you're outgoing, you're friendly, you like to chit chat, you like to talk. Type an I in the chat if you're outgoing, friendly, like to talk. Okay, right? That's me too, guys. It's just me. I like to be in charge of my own destiny, and I love meeting people, right? Okay. Let me tell you what the problem with that is. Okay. And you got to understand, I speak with well over 1,000 real estate agents a year. I promise you, I've got them dialed. All right. A lot of times we need to be listening more than we're speaking. We got 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? We should listen in proportion to what we have. Why? Customers, sellers will tell you everything you need to know if you know what questions to ask. And number 2, you're really listening. Guys, type that in the chat. Know what questions to ask and really listen. I promise you, they'll tell you everything you need to know. They will open up, okay? But you need to know what questions to ask, and you need to be listening. Don't tell them how great you are. Don't tell them what your volume was last year. Try to solve their problem. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, type a 1 in the chat if that makes sense, okay? Know what to ask and listen to them. Exactly, Loretta. So many people go in and they want to show you, I did this deal and I did this deal and I did this deal. Look at me, look at me, look at me, as opposed to, how can I help you? What problem of yours can I solve? Okay, that's really what we want to do. So remember, guys, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Okay, we want to be listening twice as much as we are speaking. Okay, Ethan says you'd be surprised at what you get when you stop talking and stay quiet for a few seconds. You're absolutely right. People will start to ramble, and if you're asking the right questions, guys, it will absolutely work out to your favor. Okay, guys, very, very important to understand. Okay, and sometimes we can't help ourselves. I have to pull myself back from talking, but I know the more I start listening, the more they're going to tend to give me the information. Okay. Okay, this is a good one. This one hits hard, right? Why? Because when I was a young new agent, okay, I chased big deals. I was like, oh yeah. And how many of you, okay, all right, let's be honest, type me in the chat if you've ever like gotten involved in a deal and it was like multiple 7 figures, and you start doing the math and you start looking at it, and you're like, oh my God, that would be so cool. If I close this deal, I'd make like $350,000. And that's like more than I've ever made in one sitting at once, blah, 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 blah. How many, type of 1 in the chat if that's ever happened to you guys? You're like, you start looking at, you start spending like, what would I spend the money on? Right. All right. Come on. We're all human, guys, myself included. I've absolutely been there. Thank you guys for being honest. Linda, gotcha. Tom and Susan. All right. Yeah. So here's the thing, folks. In the beginning, you'd be better off doing smaller deals. Does anyone want to know the fastest way to close a $20 million deal? Type 20 in the chat if you guys want to know. I'll wait. I'm going to hydrate. Type a 20 in the chat if you want to know how to close a $20 million deal. I'm going to give you the secret right now. Okay, Raj wants to know. Susan, Sergio, Roman. Cool. Very simple, guys. Close 20 $1 million deals. People would be like, what? Carlton, you got it. Exactly, man. That's exactly it, folks. Just like I talked about before, the person that says, oh, I just need leads and I'll figure the rest out. No. Because there's a process involved, guys. It's go out, get the business, search, get it closed, rinse, wash, repeat, refine, rinse, wash, repeat, refine. Okay. The math is mathing. I love that, Sergio. Yeah, exactly. Folks, the way you learn how to do really big deals that are complex is do a whole bunch of smaller deals that are a little bit more simple. Why? You get battle hardened. And when you've got, $30,000 on the line, it's very different than when you have $600,000 on the line. You with me? It's a much faster pace, much more sophisticated people. You'd be better off cutting your teeth. There's a reason why people play freshman basketball, then JV, then varsity, then college, then pros. Okay, there are levels to this, guys. You do not step on the court as a high school freshman and you go up toe to toe with LeBron James. It just doesn't work that way, guys. But the fastest way to get there is get time in the game. The way you get time in the game is do a bunch of small deals. You guys with me? Right? Type of 1 in the chat if this makes a lot of sense. Okay. That's what we're trying to do, folks. We're trying to get you guys to see like, oh, snap, this can be done. We can small chunk this, and we can really, really like get our heads around it. Very, very important to understand. Okay, sweet. Now, next up, folks, the biggest mistake most people make is not having a mentor, right? When we started at the beginning, guys, and I asked, how many of you want to work smarter, not harder? And everyone's like, yeah, me. Let me tell you the fastest way to work smarter. The fastest way to work smarter is to take someone else and leverage their mistakes, their experience, which is faster for you to go out and make 5 years worth of mistakes, or to hire someone that has made 5 years worth of mistakes, or 10 years worth of mistakes, or 20 years of lessons. Okay. They're not mistakes. There's never mistakes, guys. There's no failure, only feedback. In fact, type that in the chat, guys. There's no failure, only feedback. What I'm trying to get you guys to understand is the faster you can not make mistakes, the better off you'll be. The less dark alleys you have to go down, the less doors you have to knock on to figure out the thing that works, the faster you're going to start making money. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. So Linda says, I have 1 week into your program. I have potential leads. Boom. I love it. Yes, Linda. You know why? Because Linda came in and she didn't just watch a bunch of videos. She came in and she implemented in 48 hours. She was on the phone, and within less than 7 days into the program, she has potential leads. That is what we're talking about. Kudos to you, Linda. You are off to a really, really great start. So the point is, folks, the faster you can stop doing the wrong things and start doing the right things, that's when you start getting traction like Linda, okay? If you guys are serious about making your business the business that you want, making 2024 your breakout year, guys, I went from 0 listings taken by myself to 24 in my first 12 months doing this, and I can show you how. Do me a favor, make your business better, implement something and get 2% better. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you this time next week. Take care, folks. Go implement. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.